Okay, so here we go. In problems 11 through 18, find the inverse function. Find the inverse and determine whether the inverse is a function. Well, if the inverse is a function, this means that I have 1y to 1x. That gives me the inverse as a function. And this is a function because if you remember when we talked about functions, this was 1x to 1y. So the original function is a function. And if I take a look at the inverse, that means I've got to have 1y to 1x, and I have that. So is the inverse a function? The answer is yes, because I cover this up and I look back, and there can be only one arrow to one element. So what is the inverse? Well, the inverse is that Beth goes to Dave, Diane goes to Bob, Linda goes to John, and Marcia goes to Chuck. That's the inverse. So that means you're going back. Now, if I take a look at this one, again, that is a function. But if I'm going back, I notice that Marcia goes to two different places. So this Marcia doesn't go to one place, she goes to two. So is this a function? No. So does it really have an inverse? No. Because either Marcia goes to John or Marcia goes to Chuck. She can't go to both. To be a function. To be a function. See, and you could say, well, if the domain were sons and the range were mothers, Marcia could have sons named John and Chuck. It doesn't make it a function. Coming back. Now, here is this a function? I don't know. So the easiest thing for me to do is just draw a picture, because I can't look at this and necessarily see. I know that if I look at the function, that 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 8, 3 goes to 18, 4 goes to 32. So the answer is, there's my function, so is the inverse also a function?
No.
Yeah. Well, why isn't it?
2 goes to 1 and 8.
But they're not connected.
My range is 2, 8, 18, and 32.
I got a line of the domain and the range together.
And now I'm looking at covering up the domain. How many places do each element in the range go to? 1. So that means it is a function. Yeah, yes. So what's the inverse? Well, 2 has to return to 1. 8 has to return to 2. 18 has to return to 3. And 32 has to return to 4. So that's why I wrote the function first, because at that point, once I had a picture, then I could cover up and say, if I look at the range now, going back, do I have any repeated values? The answer is no.
It's easy with names.
Yeah, once you have the picture up, it's not so bad. But until you do that, it's kind of iffy.